everyone here to our educational Wall of Distinction ceremony. To get things going, I'm going to welcome our Board of Education President, Mr. Peter Forsgren, to please come up and say some opening remarks. Mr. Peter Forsgren.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. It's wonderful to gather together to celebrate the contributions that these inductees have made in the lives of so many individuals. I love it that we gather together here the week before Thanksgiving, because I have no doubt that there are many parents out there, that there are many students still walking these halls, as well as adults who used to be students, who would happily join us at the podium to express gratitude. And so I love that we're here a week before Thanksgiving. Recently I witnessed in a poignant way kind of the importance that little efforts can make in the lives of individuals. I was a tag-along father. I wasn't much help other than a chaperone on an 11-year-old scout outing for orienteering. And the scoutmaster had prepared very well. We went into the woods of Menden Ponds and started at a post. I don't know if anybody's done that, but we had our maps, we had our compasses, and the scoutmaster did a great job, got us set up, helped us orient ourselves, and said, okay, now let's go find the next post. And only as 11-year-olds could do, right, in a big open wooded area, did they take off cheerily, and within 50 yards, they were cheerily going in the wrong direction. It's amazing that, you know, every tree seemed to be a distraction for them, and they would just slightly get off course. And so within 50 yards, they were nowhere close, almost a quarter of a circle from where they wanted to go. So 50 yards into this, the scoutmaster gathers them all back and reorients them and starts talking to them about those types of things that happen, right? That when there's a tree and you have to go around it, you have to make sure that you get back on course, that you keep your eye on where you want to go. It was an impressive little lesson on how small degrees of changes can make all the difference in lives. I know these individuals have done that. When we think many times about creating or creativity, and we ask that of people, we think perhaps of the talents of writing a poem, writing a story, and creating music. And I have no doubt that in this group there are those who are able to do all of that. But the creations that I think we think of are the lives of the individuals, the tapestries that these individuals have created. Walk in the hallways here and the hallways of universities elsewhere. Many have gone on to jobs and are walking there, and the tapestries are impacting the lives of many others because of the small efforts, heroic yet quiet efforts that these individuals have made. So I'm glad to be here with you tonight, but as a parent, as a community member, and as a representative of the Board of Education, I want to thank you so much for those heroic, small, quiet efforts you've made day in, day out, year out, in the lives of so many individuals. Thank you so much.
Before we began tonight, we had the opportunity to hear from our string group who came and presented and shared their talents to really top off the evening. Thank you very much to our string group who left. They left. They're somewhere, but thank you. As we are entering the season of Thanksgiving and gratitude, the Education Wall of Distinction, now in its 14th year, is our way to pay homage to the contributions of Doug Kane, Marcy Collin, Christina Evans, William Keplinger, Richard Osterling, and Chris Stahl. Let's give them a big round of applause. These 6 individuals have and continue to make a difference in Fairport. The Education Wall of Distinction is symbolic of the deep-seated values layered throughout our incredible community. When thinking of Fairport, we can reflect upon the great names who have come before us and the rich legacies we strive to serve daily. In Fairport, we recognize that our greatest resource and hope for our students lies in the passions of our educators. And you're an educator if you interact or impact students in any way, shape, or form. These 6 individuals have influenced the lives of countless students. The range and the diversity of the roles of these 6 inductees is remarkable. It speaks to the value we place on people and how we truly understand that no matter where you are in our organization or community, you can lead and make a difference in the lives of others. This year, our district theme is Making a Difference. Tonight is an opportunity for us to show our gratitude for these 6 difference makers. Through selfless acts, these individuals made us all better from their corner of the world and have certainly built upon the unique tapestry of our caring community and the irrepressible spirit that makes us truly one unique Fairport. Our Honorable Wall of Distinction Committee members, thank you. I truly am honored for having the opportunity to preside over tonight's celebration. Members, if you're in the audience, please take a moment and stand. Diane Dudley, our chairperson. Julia Allen, student representative. Jerry Boynton. Susan Casement. Mr. Robert Clark. Tony Exton. Suzanne Meyer. I saw Suzanne. Maureen Nupp. Tom Palma. Beth Puckett. And Tracy Tingu. Thank you very much for your service in organizing this incredible event for our school community. The Education Wall of Distinction is truly about people and recognizing people are our greatest source of strength and our greatest resource. Our Board of Education understands this, and it is their priority to ensure that these celebrations are alive, well, and an important part of our community. Our Board of Education, we appreciate all that you do and all the behind-the-scenes work that you do to make these events come to fruition. There are 78 total past inductees to the Educational Wall of Distinction here in Fairport. If you are a former member of this distinguished recognition, please stand right now and be recognized. If you're out there, please stand. Thank you for joining us this evening. Our honorees' messages are worthy of sharing, celebrating, and emulating. Their stories make us better. Their stories make us strive to live up to the time-honored traditions of excellence and care embedded in our community. I'm looking forward to hearing their stories depicted from our student reps who will tell it like no one else can tell it. Claire Mulholland will convey how Doug Kane travels above and beyond to serve our students and families from the Transportation Department. Say hello, Claire. Haley Sachs will present how Marcy Callan has earned respect of countless students and families by spearheading competitive swimming for the past 36 years in Fairport. Sydney Douglas will detail how Christina Evans places her heart and soul into making learning meaningful, engaging, and fun for her primary school students. Julia Allen will depict Bill Keplinger's passion for education and pervasive role he has had in students' lives for 33 years as a Fairport educator and today in our community in Fairport. Jake Simon will share how Rich Osterling is a role model to us all and how he has transformed the lives of so many students in over his 35 years in Fairport. Nick Rosen will speak to Chris Stahl's boundless energy and big heart for his students as a technology teacher at Fairport High School. Looking forward to hearing their stories. But before we do that, I would like to invite our FEA president, Ms. Susan Casement, to recognize this very important evening. Susan Casement.
Good evening, honorees Bill, Marcia, Tina, Douglas, Chris, and Rich, as well as family, colleagues, friends, and students of our honored award recipients. To be inducted is to be welcomed and received into a dignified and impressive group. Tonight's honorees will not only be added to the Wall of Distinction, but their own distinguished careers will enhance the already magnificent group. Our new members are noted for dedication, perseverance, and diligence for the benefit of students and colleagues. Yet each is so humble as to be unaware of the effect they have while in the English classroom, inside a professional learning group, under the hood of a car, behind the wheel of a bus, in a swimming pool, at the keys of a piano, or swirling around a fourth grade class. But these are the pros among us, who are models of the true professional, with excellence running through their beings without apparent effort. They are the ones who often provide a child with his or her first smile of the day. They are the teachers who constantly improve and urge their colleagues to be awarded with national recognition. They are the professionals who teach the courses, who inspire students to come to school every day. They are the friend who has time and for humor, advice, and encouragement for every colleague. They are the teacher, driver, coach, who is remembered by former students, and in some cases, their parents, and how they've changed their lives. They are the coach who asks the student to reach for the stars, and they do. Tonight's honorees are the role models for us all, as we gape in amazement at what they do so naturally every day. Fairport is privileged to have the Wall of Distinction class of 2018 in our midst. We are also fortunate that we have embraced the concept of the Wall for almost 2 decades. FEA has been a proud sponsor since its inception. It is important to recognize the outstanding work that all the recipients of distinction represent. We are all better for acknowledging the many facets of excellence we see every day throughout the district. Diane Dudley was one of the original members on the wonderful committee supporting the event. Her passion and commitment steer the effort with patience and heart. For her dedication, we again thank her. And of course, we also thank Geraldine Boynton and the rest of the wonderful committee who, along with Diane, add class to the occasion. The Wall of Distinction encompasses the idea of excellence that sets someone or something apart in a significant way. And tonight, we have 6 recipients who merit the accolade due to their life's work. The original creators of the Wall wanted to honor people who may not have received other awards due to their quiet dignity and unassuming ways. In fact, our honorees remind us daily why we enter teaching, why we started coaching, why we love the magic of children and young adults. So Rich, Chris, Doug, Tina, Marcia, and Bill, tonight's award is an accomplishment of distinction. We are privileged to honor each of you. We hope to embody what you represent each day of our careers. We thank you for your graciousness, and we congratulate your distinct careers. Thank
you. We're ready to honor our inductees. We'll have Claire Mulholland please come forward to share Doug Kane's story. Claire? Wow. Claire Mulholland.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Claire Mulholland, and I have the honor and privilege of introducing to you Mr. Douglas Kane. Mr. Kane has been working as the head bus driver at Fairport Central Schools since 2002. But before that, he worked at BOCES for 21 years. As the head bus driver in Fairport, Mr. Kane is responsible for identifying all student transportation needs district-wide, both to and from school, as well as shuttles between schools, program, parochial transportation routes, and any transportation requests come for midday routes. Essentially, without the great work of Mr. Kane, student learning throughout Fairport Central Schools would simply not happen. Mr. Kane's work may be described as behind the scenes, but imagine if there was no efficient and reliable transportation for the 6,500 students in our district every day. As a senior and student athlete with 2 full-time working parents, I can assure you that my experience in Fairport would be very different if it had not been the work for our top-notch transportation department. Mr. Kane's proudest personal accomplishment was when he purchased and implemented a cutting-edge routing program that allowed the Transportation Department to make all student data available, both within the department and district-wide. The implementation process required him to program a sophisticated mapping tool for nearly 6,500 students with over 500 routes district-wide. His work began that year, shortly after the end of the school year, and continued all summer long, you know, when all of us are at home and by the pool. This program allowed everyone in the Transportation Department and throughout the district to access driver routes and student stops, contact information, and important medical information also. After many long hours that summer, Mr. Kane finished the implementation of this innovative program before the beginning of the school year. Despite this amazing accomplishment, Mr. Kane recalls his fondest memories from his time at Fairport as the appreciation and thanks he receives for the efforts of the Transportation Department from families of graduated students. Mr. Kane recalled two people as having tremendous influence on his career. One was his friend Joan Morgan, who gave him the idea of working in a school environment. Miss Morgan introduced Mr. Kane to a volunteer opportunity which led him to an offer to become a bus driver at BOCES. Initially, Mr. Kane thought he would do that for a year. Obviously, his plans changed a bit as he fell in love with the transportation industry. He also credits Linda Carey, the director of BOCES Transportation at the time, to his continued success in the field of transportation. After a short time of Mr. Kane assisting in the office, Ms. Carey tasked Mr. Kane with creating an access database for the department to use for tracking students' biographical information and transportation needs. Although Mr. Kane had no program training, he successfully created this program, which is still in use today. He credits Ms. Carey's trust and faith in him as having a huge impact on his career in transportation. Mr. Kane grew up in Ontario, New York, and attended Wade and Central schools. His proudest accomplishment outside of the field of education was in 1991 when he hiked the Appalachian Trail. He completed over 2,000 miles in just 5.5 months. Mr. Kane has words of wisdom that he would like to leave you all with. The first, do it for the students because everyone else is just in the background. If your heart is in it, you'll find a way to make it work. The second is follow up and follow through. It's all about communication. Thank you, Mr. Kane, for everything you have done for our district and the Fairport community. Your work may have been behind the scenes, but know that your work is both appreciated and admired by everyone in Fairport.
Family members, come right up, take a picture, embarrass them, whatever you got to do to make them. I think it's important to recognize that our students who are giving away and saying all these wonderful things about our inductees had the opportunity to meet with them just during a lunch session. So they were able to take all this information, ask all sorts of good questions, and then put it into a thoughtful, articulate representation of our honorees. So please keep that in mind, and our students tell it best. I'm going to ask Haley Sachs to come forward and share the story of Marcy Callan. Haley.
I have the honor of introducing you to our next inductee, Marcy Callan. She has been working as the aquatic specialist in Fairport for 42 years and has worked with the girls varsity swimming team and both boys and girls modified teams. Over the years, she has taught thousands this important life skill. During her own high school years, she was a multi-sport athlete, playing softball and swimming, but participated before Title IX was in effect, so she was only able to practice swimming with the boys team but could not participate in the meets. She has made it one of her life missions to educate people, especially young women, about Title IX and encourage them to take advantage of all of the opportunities available to them today. Callan believes that swimming is a crucial life skill and that everyone should have it. She has been working with the Fairport aquatic staff for decades to try to reach as many students as possible to help them develop these skills. Although most students are able to swim by the time they leave high school, it cannot be confidently said that every student can, and Callan wants to challenge the Fairport School District to make this a reality. She believes that having both physical and academic abilities are important when going to college because both of these are needed for a healthy and successful life moving forward. Kellen has had many successes throughout her career. One of her proudest moments as the aquatic specialist was helping out a student to better their overall health conditions. There was a student that was obese and suffered from health issues because of this. They were given an aquatic prescription from their doctor, which essentially means that they needed to complete pool workouts regularly to improve their health. Callan coached this student and pushed them to achieve their goals. The student lost 50 pounds in only the first month of this training and returned to a regular blood pressure. Callan believes that with more awareness of solutions like these to health problems, more students could be reached and helped. She was interviewed about her success with this student by the Athletic Business magazine. Some of the other awards that she has received are the Jean Jambroni Award, given out by the Rochester Press Radio, and the Lifetime Achievement USA Swimming Award. She was also named Volunteer of the Year for Niagara Swimming and Sportswoman of the Year by WHAM. Her advice to those who aspire to succeed as she has is to be the first one there and the last one to leave, and don't be afraid to speak up or think outside of the box. Callan would like to thank her family, Ryan, Carly, and her husband, John, as well as the aquatic coaching staff, Ryan Callan, Mike Kennedy, and Mike Fortner, for helping her to achieve these successes in her career. And so it is my honor to introduce you to the newest member of our Fairport Educators Wall of Distinction, Marcy Callan.
If I could press rewind really quickly, Doug, you work in the background, but you're the first person we all call. And that speaks to the amount of can-do attitude that you have and how much we rely on you. Marcy, as I was approaching and getting to know the district from a district lens, that was amazing. I see you in the morning. I see you at night when no one else is here, putting in the hours and the time, and so appreciated and so well articulated and developed by our student presenters. I would like to have Sydney Douglas share Miss Tina Evans' story. Please come forward.
I think they gave me the best teacher in the world this year because Mrs. Evans is the best teacher ever. This is a quote by one of her recent students. I agree with the student who said this because I was in her class in 2nd grade at Dudley School. Her love for teaching elementary students came from the bus stop when she was in 2nd grade. Here she met her husband. She always knew 2nd grade held a special place in her heart. I am so honored to be given this opportunity to speak about Tina Evans' many accomplishments and successes that contributed to her recognition of the Wall of Distinction. Through her dedication and strenuous work, Tina Evans achieved the National Board Certification, which is the highest professional teaching degree one can obtain. As a National Board mentor, she works with others in Fairport to allow them to achieve their National Board Certification. She realizes the importance of bringing in new teachers into the future of education by acting as a mentor for college students at Nazareth and Geneseo. Also, she received 2 Facet grants, one in problem solving and another in student engagement with Legos. Inside the classroom, she uses Legos to promote a positive learning experience and engagement of her students. She wants others to know that although there may be students that are reluctant to learn, it is possible for all students to be learners. Within the classroom, she wants, guiding students to believe in their own potential is something she believes that will lead them to success. Within the classroom, she wants students to love school for learning and to set goals for themselves. Outside of the classroom, she is supported by her husband Ryan and her 2 sons, Liam and Brenton. Her husband and sons help her balance her life between the busy days and nights of school and her passion for dance and choreography. At Dudley, she organized 2 flash mobs. She believed that incorporating movements into the songs helped all of the students as learners. Tina looks up to Carol Ledgerwood, who she calls her Dudley Mom, as her mentor. She would also like to thank all of her colleagues, her Dudley family, her students, and especially her husbands and her sons for their love and support. She's extremely deserving of this award, and I cannot thank her enough for the way she shaped me as a student.
my admiration for all teachers is of the utmost. Primary school teachers are incredible educators, and when I think of Tina, there's the beacon of credibility and professionalism that is second to none. So see that daily, and that was very well portrayed. Thank you very much, Sydney. Julia Allen will be sharing Bill Keplinger's story here in Fairport as an educator. Julia.
It is my It is my great honor today to welcome William Keplinger to the Wall of Distinction. Sorry, thank you. To the Wall of Distinction today. William Keplinger, or Bill, worked in Fairport for 33 years, including being a high school English teacher and eventually the department leader and working as a guidance counselor. In his first years teaching, he also worked as a play director, directing countless plays. His contributions to the drama department and to the drama program have really helped Fairport High School. As the play practices today, I know that his legacy will live on in their rehearsals. He was born on Long Island and left at the age of 8, then spent 2 years in New Jersey. For high school, he lived in Calansteo, New York. He attended Hobart College for his bachelor's degree and then attended the University of Rochester to get his master's degree in education. He worked in Fairport from 1959 through 1994, back when the high school was still at Minerva DeLand and before they moved to the high school. He spent 33 total years in Fairport because 2 in the middle were spent in admissions at Hobart College. He prides himself on making a difference in student lives and impacting them as they grow up. He also founded the Fairport Retired Educators Association and cites this as one of his proudest accomplishments. In his early years, he knew everyone K through 12 and enjoyed directing plays and making an impact on students through this. He also had great classes and students every year, including teaching a class in Bible as literature, which he still meets alumni from to this day. He really enjoyed teaching Shakespeare, especially Hamlet, and would act out all the roles to his classes to try to make it fun for them. He also enjoyed working with his wonderful colleagues, and really enjoyed his time working in Fairport because of the people he got to work with there. He would like to thank his wife, Jean, who was also a fellow teacher, for her contributions to his life. He gave advice to students both in high school, when getting into college, and throughout their lives, telling them to be yourself and be honest, not changing yourself for anyone. He also told students to be prepared and flexible because sometimes things change and you just have to be ready for it. Although he is retired now, he's certainly not inactive as he makes a number of contributions to our community. He's currently been a reader for WXXI Reach Out Radio, a radio which reads to the blind and visually impaired, and he's done this for over 20 years. He also delivers Meals on Wheels in Parenton, again for over 20 years. William Keplinger has made a number of contributions, both to our Fairport community and to the outside community since his retirement, and it is my honor to welcome him to the Wall of Distinction.
Bill, I never really had the opportunity to work with you directly, but I see and I feel you every single day. And the legacy and the love that you have for Fairport students is played out in so many different ways. And it's greatly appreciated. Bill said that he's moved 4 times, and all have been in Fairport, and that speaks for his love and passion for our community and to our school district. Thank you, Bill. And wonderful job, Julia. I would like to have Jake Simon come forward and share the story of Mr. Richard Osterling.
Fairport's lucky enough to have dozens and dozens of phenomenal teachers. I've had so many during my time in the district. But there's something unique about those teachers who are more than just educators. Those teachers who become supporters, mentors, and even friends to the students they interact with on a daily basis. Mr. Osterling is that kind of teacher. I've been lucky enough to participate in Mr. Osterling's graduation orchestras, his full orchestras, and I have friends in his string orchestra that meets every morning here at FHS. I can say without a doubt that there are so many of them who consider him a role model, and I look up to him not only as a musician and an educator, but more generally as a person. I can hardly remember a time that I've interacted with Mr. O and didn't leave with a smile on my face. You can count me among those students who look up to him greatly. That's why I'm so excited to have the honor of introducing Mr. Osterling here at the Wall of Distinction ceremony to recognize his contributions to our Fairport community. Mr. Osterling was raised at Honeoye Falls and attended HFL schools for the entirety of his high school career. He was, of course, involved in their music program, which he said was substantial but not as robust as Fairport's, which was already at the time known in the area. His father was a longtime history teacher at Penfield, and from him Mr. O learned the value of a meaningful education and looked up to him as a role model. Obviously, education ran in the family, and Mr. Osterling attended Ithaca College for music education. Upon finishing his degree, he returned to Monroe County to begin a career here at Fairport High School. One of the first things he noticed upon his arrival was just how closely knit the community of educators is here in Fairport. Nearly every new teacher, it seemed, was a Fairport grad, and who was born, raised, and educated in Fairport before returning from university to pass that knowledge on to another generation of Fairport students. He felt almost like an outsider. But he shortly realized that that community of teachers was extremely welcoming, and when asked about what in his time in Fairport he found most memorable and special, he remarked on the number of amazing teachers he's been able to work with, both those who taught him how to be a professional and those colleagues he's seen come up beside him. Mr. O has been at Fairport High School for 38 years, as a string teacher and director of the FHS Orchestra, receiving the RPO Distinguished Educators Award. His proudest accomplishment is the number of students he's been fortunate enough to teach, and he's thankful for the privilege of witnessing their love of music firsthand. Now, there's one thing Mr. O said is more significant to him than anything else, and that's family. His wife, Lucy, and daughters Sarah, Dana, and Kelly are the most important part of his life, and he mentioned that he's been fortunate enough to watch his daughters grow up here in Fairport and become very successful and happy adults. Dana is now a music therapist, and Sarah and Kelly work in finance. He feels lucky that his kids attended Fairport schools and grew up in such a special community, and said he will always be indebted for that. Well, Mr. O, I think it's safe to say that we've come full circle, and the community is now indebted to you. 38 classes of musicians, myself included, have been touched by your work here in Fairport, along with countless administrators, teachers, and members of the community. I can think of no one more deserving of a spot on the Wall of Distinction than Mr. Osterling, so if you would please help me thank Mr. O for all he's done in the Fairport schools and in our community.
You see Rich driving a baby stroller occasionally through the village of Fairport. Rich as a musician is a real cool dude because he loves going to sporting events too. And I think it's really neat to see him at so many events celebrating and recognizing our students. And you made your inroads definitely with your music department, but it's felt throughout and all the support that you give. Jake, wonderful job. Thank you. Nick Rosen will be speaking on behalf of Mr. Chris Stahl.
So it was mentioned earlier that we had to learn about the men and women that we were going to introduce at this ceremony in, I'd say around 20 minutes during a lunch period, and it became very obvious to me right away from the first handshake that Mr. Stahl is one cool dude. So, I mean, as a student, you go through the school day and there's a lot of stresses, there's tests, there's homework, there's all of those things due on a single day and in the future, and all of those stresses kind of come down on you. So one thing that I thought was really great was Mr. Stahl, he put a smile on my face. As a student, that's more than you can ever ask for, to be honest with you. Sorry, a little sick, to be honest with you. So, Mr. Stahl, I just want to say thank you for that one experience. And my experience as a student in 20 minutes with him, I can't even imagine how many students he's influenced over the 24 years he's had at FHS, so as a technology teacher. So I just want to give you a background. He grew up about an hour outside of New York City, and he attended Mahopac High School, and then he went to SUNY Oswego and eventually got his administrative certificate from Brockport. So throughout the interview, I was trying to get to know about him, and one of the main things that he kept trying to emphasize to me is how much of an influence his family has had on him. He made a point to point out his mother Doris, his father Bill, his stepmother Georgina, his wife Amy, and his 2 kids Reed and Caden. So I thought that was really cool that in an interview about him, he took the spotlight off of him and really emphasized how much influence his family has had on him. So then we talked about his accomplishments as a teacher. So one of the main influences or accomplishments as a teacher, he likes to hear from past students. And he shared one anecdote with me during the interview about a student coming up to him and being like, "Oh, Mr. Stahl, what's going on?" And he didn't recognize him at the time, but he introduced him, and he was so happy and so influenced by Mr. Stahl that he approached him and was pretty much just ecstatic about the work that Mr. Stahl had done for him at the school. I thought that was really cool because as a student, I want to be able to come back and in my later years and be able to meet a teacher who has had such an influence on me. So on top of that, earlier in his career, he had some influences on him that helped him really kickstart his teaching career and turn him into the great man that he is today. So one of them is Paul Meyer, and the other is Dave Privatera, who are retired auto shop and wood shop teachers. And he told me that their influence on him, they listened to him, he asked questions, and they really molded him into the teacher and person he is today. He also mentioned to me that they still have breakfast to this day, so every week. So I also thought that was really cool. They're over there. In addition to that, he shared some of his fondest memories with me. Now, I'm a guy who thrives off of nostalgia, so I like looking back at past memories and pictures and everything, and I just love the feeling it gives me. Mr. Stahl seems like the kind of guy that is the same as me. He said that his fondest memories are looking back at pictures and yearbooks and seeing the old projects he did with students and all their smiling faces and all of that. And also, in addition to that, not only in pictures, but seeing the past students face-to-face that he has taught. So that was also something that he made really obvious to me, that he loved when students come back to say hi to him and thank him, but also looking back at those pictures and students face-to-face. So with that, it's my privilege and honor to introduce Mr. Chris Stahl.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Well done, Nick. It speaks to his love, his heart, his passion. If you're here at FHS, you go in the back corner of the school, you see many things going on, many cars being dragged into the back. Also, he can work closely with students and give them the tender, loving care that they need to get through their day. Mr. Stahl has a heart and boundless energy. An example of that is not only with his students, but with his fellow colleagues. There's a story in my mind where he's drove all the way to Florida to support Mr. Graham as he was transitioning there, and that's an act of care. And congratulations. Thank you. To all of our inductees, let's give them a big round of applause. Enjoy the moments, take lots of pictures. These 6 individuals have certainly gained the respect of countless children, families, and their colleagues. Honorable, passionate, selflessness, dignified, and stewardship. These are the defining attributes that represents the personas of those we are honoring tonight. I would like to thank our donors for this evening, the Fairport Administrative Association. Thank you for your contribution. The Fairport Educators Association, thank you for all that you do to make this a reality. And the Fairport District Paraprofessionals, thank you for your contribution. Without the support of those donors, we wouldn't be able to enjoy the festivities as to the extent we're going to be able to, in a little bit, go down into the by the auditorium to see the Wall of Distinction unveiled, and their placards and the screens that will display their bust, if you will, for the next several years. I'm going to ask Chief Sam Farina from the Fairport Village Police Department to come forward to give some closing remarks. Chief Farina.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brett. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. But before I start, I really want to give my thanks to Julia, Haley, Sydney, Claire, Nick, and Jake. You guys were outstanding. And actually, I'm nervous because you guys did so well. I'm under so much pressure now to try to compete with you. Do you all want to be politicians when you grow up? If you do, I'd work for you guys anytime, so keep that in mind. And Bill, Marcy, Tina, Doug, Chris, and Richard, congratulations. What an outstanding achievement. 170 years of impacting the lives of our community in such a great manner. So congratulations to you all, and what a great accomplishment. For Tina, I'm glad this finally came to light, because I have 2 open cases for unruly mobs. So you're the flash mob. Okay, good. So I can finally put that one to rest, right? That was killing our solvability, so thank you. So good evening, and thank you for attending this incredible ceremony to celebrate the addition of 6 educators who have been placed prominently upon the Fairport School District's Wall of Distinction. My name again is Sam Farina with the Village of Fairport Police Department. It's quite overwhelming to be here, surrounded by so many amazing educators. I have to admit, I feel rather humbled by the greatness in this room, and so honored to be included among you. It is often said that policing is the noblest profession. I disagree. I'm here to say that teaching and educating our youth is by far the noblest, selfless, altruistic, and inspirational profession our society has to offer. With that said, our community owes you a big thank you for what you do for our children every single day. Personally, I attribute my success and my career status today directly to my loving parents and the teachers I've had throughout my elementary, middle, and high school experience. I truly believe that education is not a one-size-fits-all. Every year brings a different group of students, and they come with varying needs. Educators are constantly challenged with developing a true passion for culturally responsive, student-centered, and character-building teaching. It is so important to give all students a safe environment in which to learn without negating their own backgrounds, cultures, and identities. All teachers I've met continually embrace the differences of each student who walks through their doors and motivates them to the best they can be. And this is routinely realized here in Fairport at this school district. A quote that seems to fit this mission for educators is reflected in the words of the 2012 National Teacher of the Year recipient, who said, "You have been born with a gift for teaching, and you've been given the gift of working with children. You have the front row seat to the future. You build that future one child at a time." In addition, the poet William Butler Yeats stated, "Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire." Teachers here today, and hundreds like them in Fairport, are surrounded every day by young people who will shape our future. But it takes a special person to recognize that. It takes a special person to light that fire, to raise our child's expectations for themselves and never give up on them, no matter how challenging it might be. The 6 honored educators present here today embody these principles and teaching fundamentals. You've heard about their achievements, how they've inspired not only their students, but their colleagues, their community, and countless members of their profession. It is again an honor to offer these remarks for this ceremony and to be part of the 2018 induction of those who have made their indelible mark as an educator over a lifetime of dedicated service to one of the greatest and noblest professions, teaching. I'll end with a final quote from Martin Luther King that I share with the hopes that educators will hold true in their overarching efforts with educating our youth. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of the true education. For us in law enforcement and our efforts to promote public safety in our community, there is a definitive need to instill that high level of character in conjunction with developing intelligence. Our educators are an important catalyst towards this end. With that, I'll say thank you again. Congratulations to our 2018 inductees. Your actions and accomplishments are truly commendable and admirable. Thank you.
One last final piece that I would be remiss if I didn't share this piece to the loved ones who are here with us with their honoree tonight. Thank you for sharing your loved one with us. Each one of them, behind each one of them, is the story of family, is the love of family and a passion of family. Planning, organizing, late dinners, no dinners, leaving first thing in the morning in the dark, getting home in the dark, grading papers on the weekends, creating that lesson plan, that engaging lesson plan, the sleepless nights, or the great ideas that came to fruition at your very dinner table. This is your award too. Please give a round of applause to our families. Doug, Marcy, Tina, Chris, Rich, and Bill, thank you for sharing your uniqueness and richness with all of us. You have created your own legacy. It distinguishes your persona and professional practice and illustrates your passion to make a difference in Fairport and most importantly to the lives of others. Thank you and congratulations. Thank you everyone. Again, as a reminder, we'll go down to the lobby outside the auditorium to continue our celebration.